Hello from the Channel studio in London and welcome to another edition of Foreign Dispatches, the programme that takes you around the world in 25 minutes. I'm Teniola Oyetayo. On the programme this week, NATO's border with Russia doubles as Finland joins military alliance, plus Ukraine marks Bucha recapture anniversary and calls for justice. Finland has become the 31st member of the NATO security alliance, doubling the length of member states' borders with Russia. The historic policy shift brought on by Russia's invasion of Ukraine quickly drew a threat from Moscow of countermeasures. Russian President Vladimir Putin had repeatedly complained of NATO's expansion before his full-scale invasion of Ukraine.
Secretary Blinken. Thank you very much. Well, with receipt of this instrument of accession, we can now declare that Finland is the 31st member of the North Atlantic Treaty.
Finland formally joined the military alliance on Tuesday. The country's foreign minister completed the accession process at the North Atlantic Treaty Organization's headquarters in Brussels. Then, in bright sunshine, Finland's white and blue flag joined a circle of 30 other flags. Helsinki's journey to accession has lasted less than a year, and Tuesday's ceremony coincides with the 74th anniversary of NATO's founding in 1949. NATO Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg welcomed Finland to its ranks, noting that Russian President Vladimir Putin had cited opposing NATO expansion as one justification for his invasion.
This is an historic day. We welcome Finland as the newest member of our alliance. We will raise the Finnish flag for the first time here at the NATO headquarters. Your forces are substantial and highly capable. Your resilience is second to none. And for many years, troops from Finland and NATO countries have worked side by side as partners. From today, we stand together as allies.
Finland's membership, ending 7 decades of military non-alignment, roughly doubles the length of the border that NATO shares with Russia and bolsters its eastern flank as the war in Ukraine grinds on with no resolution in sight. Finnish President Sauli Niinisto, while proclaiming a new era for his country, also called for a quick ratification of its neighbour Sweden.
Finland's membership is not complete without that of Sweden. Our persistent efforts for a rapid Swedish membership will continue. I look forward to seeing Sweden join us as the 32nd member at the Vilnius summit in July.
The invasion of Ukraine in February 2022 prompted Finland and Sweden to seek security under NATO's Collective Defence Pact, which states that an attack on one member is an attack on all. Of NATO's existing members, Hungary and Turkey have still to ratify Sweden's membership application.
There is no reason for neither the Turkish parliament or the Hungarian parliament to make any further delays. They should start the ratification process because we have the support of all member states in NATO to become invitees, and thereby we have fulfilled all the requirements.
Today that we see as, I think, a direct result of Vladimir Putin's aggression and his illegal invasion of Ukraine, the day where a new ally joins our defensive alliance. I think that is very positive. We will celebrate that today and then very quickly get to work on the accession of Sweden.
We sincerely congratulate our Finnish friends with the accession. Ukraine is aiming at reaching the same goal, becoming a full member of NATO, and it will be one of the topics of our conversations here in Brussels of how can we move forward.
Today, President Biden released a
While
statement
welcoming Finland's accession to NATO, the US president urged Turkey and Hungary to conclude the ratification processes for Sweden to join the military alliance without delay.
This is a historic day for the NATO alliance, and it comes on the 74th anniversary of NATO's founding. Welcoming Finland to NATO has been a priority for the president. He has been actively engaged throughout this process, hosting Finland's president here at the White House several times. The Senate acted in near record time to advance the ratification process, and Finland's ratification process, which took less than 1 year, is the fastest ratification process in NATO's modern history. We also look forward to welcoming Sweden as a NATO member as soon as possible and encourage Turkey and Hungary to conclude their ratification process without delay. Both Finland and Sweden are strong democracies with highly capable militaries who share our values and vision for the world. As President Biden said, when Putin launched his brutal war of aggression against the people of Ukraine, he thought he could divide Europe and NATO. He was wrong. Today, we are more unified than ever, and we will continue to preserve transatlantic security, defend every inch of NATO territory, and meet any and all challenges we face.
Meanwhile, on the streets of Helsinki, a cautious welcome for the news of Finland joining NATO.
I feel it's a good thing that Finland is joining NATO. We have been here next to Russian for ages, and I feel that it's good because my father was in war with the Russians, so this is like a personal thing to me.
In some ways, I think it will make Finland a safer place, but then again, we don't know what Russia will do, and it's all like a big question for me. I think so.
Now we are part of Western Europe and this kind of bigger community, so we are part of this Northern Alliance, so that brings a security to Finland. Yeah.
I'm very glad about it. I was really hesitant, I thought it wouldn't happen because of Turkey. They've been very slow at accepting us, but I'm very glad that it will finally happen.
I feel maybe a little bit conflicted about joining NATO because I'm not the biggest fan of NATO, but at the same time even less of a fan of Russia.
Russia has said it would strengthen its military capacity in its western and northwestern regions in response to Finland joining NATO. Russia's defense minister also said the move raised the prospect of the conflict in Ukraine escalating further. NATO has repeatedly stressed that it's solely a defensive alliance and does not threaten Russia. Moscow says the funneling of heavy weaponry to Ukraine by NATO countries since the war began proves the West is bent on destroying Russia. And in Ukraine, Ukrainian forces took back control of the small towns of Bucha in late March last year as Russian invasion forces abandoned an attempt to seize the capital. Over a year on, fighting is still raging in the east and south of the country, but for places like Bucha, hundreds of miles away from the fighting, the war is still felt by residents there. 71-year-old Katerina remembers how Russian troops occupied Bucha for a month last year. This Alley of Glory commemorates the war dead. A year on, signs of rejuvenation are everywhere. But Katerina says they won't bring back her son-in-law.
The Russians, They caused so much grief. They killed my son-in-law and they injured my grandson. The grief, it won't heal anytime soon. Many small children are left without parents. It's just sad.
Ukrainian forces took back control of the small town of Bucha to the northwest of Kiev in late March last year, as Russian invasion forces abandoned their attempt to seize the capital. After Ukraine took back control, harrowing images of dead bodies laying in the streets were beamed across the world. International investigators are still collecting evidence of what Ukraine says were atrocities committed in the region.
That information has allowed us to trace the patterns of international crimes committed by Russia and its proxies. We see it as a deliberate strategy to destroy Ukraine as a state and Ukrainians as a nation, along with massive display of war crimes. Many of these atrocities have been committed here in Bucha, and thus it bears the hallmark of genocide. I truly hope all this evidence will result in unprecedented results, justice being served, and perpetrators being held accountable in Ukrainian as well as before international courts and tribunals.
Moscow denies the accusations of executions, rapes and torture by troops. The scars of war are strewn across the city, where some buildings remain battered and cars left destroyed during last year's fighting. Residents also face regular air raid sirens telling them to take cover from airstrikes that have caused sweeping power outages. Most here believe Ukraine will win the war, but the emotional wounds could fester for generations.
When I'm in my own house, I don't even make my bed in the morning. I sleep, and I'm not sure how I'll flee. I have this backpack ready at all times, just in case.
A few days ago, there was a drone attack at night. We heard everything, and my husband even saw how drones were shot down. You hear the automatic gunfire when they shoot them down, and the children ask about it. The children know who the occupiers were and what missiles are.
Akko is only 4, but he remembers life under Russia's month-long occupation of the town.
We were without phones. We didn't have electricity. We sat on our beanbag chairs. We slept on them. And when we went outside, there was blood everywhere. I got scared.
On Friday, Ukraine held commemorative events marking the anniversary of forced recapturing Bucha after 33 days of Russian occupation. This was attended by leaders of Croatia, Slovakia, Slovenia and Moldova.
We don't want to live in a world which is run by threats. We are here today to remind the world about the atrocities committed by the Russian troops, and we are here to make commitments, and we made a strong commitment because we support the Bucha Declaration, we support the creation of the International Tribunal. We are here to make the commitment that all these atrocities, the crimes against humanity, the crimes against the Ukrainian people will be investigated and punished. This is why we're here.
Kyiv says more than 1,400 people were killed in Bucha during the occupation, including 37 children. More than 175 people were found in mass graves and torture chambers, and 9,000 Russian war crimes have been identified. Meanwhile, fighting is still raging in the east and south of Ukraine, where Russian forces hold large parts of territory captured after they invaded on February the 24th, 2022. And still ahead on the program, Brussels hosts a giant chocolate eggs exhibition as part of Easter celebrations. More details in a moment. Please stay with us. You're still watching Foreign Dispatches on Channels Television. One person was killed and 19 passengers taken to hospital this week after an intercity train collided with a crane and derailed outside The Hague in the Netherlands. The accident was the worst on Dutch railways for years, and authorities have launched an investigation.
The crash happened at about 3:25 a.m., tearing apart a passenger train with about 50 people on board and bringing down one of the overhead power lines. The front carriage of the night train from Leiden City to The Hague, one of the Netherlands' busiest resorts, hit the crane and derailed, ploughing into a field by the village of Voorschoten near The Hague. A goods train also collided with the crane, which was being used for repairs to 2 of 4 railway tracks.
Behind me you can see 2 trains. There's a passenger train and there's a freight train. They both hit in another crane that was in the tracks. And as you can see, the damage is enormous. So there was a lot of damage and there were tens of people that were hurt. And unfortunately, one person passed away as well.
Police have launched an inquiry, as has the Dutch Safety Board, which will focus on how 2 trains could have collided with a crane that was supposed to be on one of 2 tracks taken out of service for maintenance.
It is a very unusual thing to happen, an accident of this size here in the Netherlands. So our priority now is to find out what happened and how could this have happened. And how can we make sure that this doesn't happen again. So that's a priority for now. At the moment, researchers of ProRail, but also of other organizations, are doing their investigation behind us. They have done pretty quickly after the accident, and we hope to find out what happened exactly and how we can make sure that this doesn't happen again.
King Wilhelm Alexander visited the site after thanking residents who had opened their doors to treat passengers who did not need hospital treatment. Prime Minister Mark Rutte also expressed his condolences. This sort of incident is extremely rare in the Netherlands, where the rail systems are generally very safe.
Meanwhile, in Greece, over a month after 12 students from Aristotle University were killed in the country's deadliest train crash, messages of grief are tinged with rage. 57 people died in the rail disaster in February when a passenger train and a cargo train collided head-on. Outrage over the collision galvanized Greeks of all ages and backgrounds to participate in massive demonstrations across the country.
Many of the victims of Greece's deadliest train crash were students returning from a long carnival weekend. Konstantin and Evangelia, both 22-year-old engineering students, lost their friend Agapi. They hang a post-it message saying, "We won't forget you," on a makeshift memorial erected by the students in the foyer, which lists the names of victims and their schools.
Στην αρχή δεν το πιστεύαμε. Δηλαδή ήταν πάρα πολύ.
In the beginning, we didn't believe it. It was like a lie, that you will lose someone that you see at the university every day, someone you talk with, someone you drink coffee with, and suddenly they say to you that this person no longer exists. It's a shock. But after you're filled with rage, you ask yourself, why is this happening in the 21st century? We are engineering students, so we know what is possible in this era. We're talking about the 4th Industrial Revolution.
Σπουδάζουμε μηχανική. Δεν σπουδάζουμε και κάτι άλλο.
The anger over the crash spilled into the streets, with students protesting over safety failings at the ailing railways. In the university cafes, in corridors and in classrooms, discussions revolve around what can be done.
We made them a promise that we won't let this pass, and now we are acting on it. Our student association have become their voices.
Lysimachos, a university professor of veterinary surgery, lost his son Georgios, a 22-year-old physics student. Georgios had gone to get water from the train's canteen moments before the crash, in one of the carriages that was obliterated.
Lately, he was very happy. He had met a girl from Turkey who had been traveling with him on the train and she was saved. We're now in denial that he's gone. That is the hardest part. We believe that next year we will start to accept that he is never coming back.
At the memorial in the university, students have left dozens of post-it notes to say their last goodbyes, such as one that reads, "Safe journey." While the disaster has been in part blamed on the station master on duty near the site of the crash in Tempe in central Greece, it has also highlighted government delays in modernising rail safety systems.
And finally on the programme, as millions around the world celebrate Easter, there is no better time to immerse into the world of chocolate eggs, bunnies and other festive creations. A new festival in Brussels has managed to assemble around 20 internationally renowned chocolate masters to present giant chocolate eggs, which was specifically created for this occasion. Let's take a look.
These extravagant Easter eggs are made almost entirely of chocolate. The first edition of Belle Oeuf, an exhibition featuring giant chocolate eggs, takes place in the iconic Hotel Amigo in Brussels. The finest Belgian chocolate makers are participating in the exhibition with their distinctive creations.
I would buy it for, because it's pretty, and I would also buy it to eat, so.
It took British-born chocolatier Michael Lewis Anderson only a day to make his royal blue creation using 45 kilos of chocolate.
It's quite heavy actually. Transportation was a little bit scary because obviously as you see it's going up, it's like you don't want to do the Tower of Pisa effect falling over in Brussels, you know. What's difficult with chocolate is not only the temperature, it's also the humidity. Also chocolate can also attract different smells or flavors. And then you have to be very careful with that. But for example, if this was in front of the sun, then obviously it would melt. But the heavy part of it is actually this part, which is the support of the egg. The egg is actually hollow, and it's quite strong. It's like an egg, a real egg. You know, it's the same concept. With a real egg, if you try to break it like that, you cannot break it. And it's the same with the chocolate egg.
Across the room, award-winning chocolate chef Frederick Blondeel says he was inspired by climate change to make an egg within an egg.
We wanted to represent the world. I think it's an important fact today with everything what's happened. And everybody has to take care about the world. So that's why I have the title, Heat Me Up, I'm a melting baby. And we had to work one day for the small egg because we carved everything by hand. It's not done by machine. Everything is done by hand. And we worked it one day and a half for the second big egg.
The 50 to 60 centimetre tall eggs are all edible, but not for sale. The expo lasts until after Easter and public access is free.
And that's the programme today, but remember our top stories are never far away. You can catch them on channelstv.com. Thank you for watching. I'm Teniola Oyetayo. Bye for now.